Hello and welcome to the Power Up Podcast. I'm Martin Coburn.
And I'm Lisa Ryan.
And we have had the good fortune of working together for a good 25 years, mainly in the corporate market, and our goal is to help people place their strengths, ignite their passions, and help them be the very best version of themselves.
And together we've created the Power Up program, which is a live and digital program designed to help people achieve their true potential and live a happier, more purposeful life.
That is our goal. The program contains some very powerful ideas and strategies, practical things you can use instantly, centered around what we call our 7 natural powers, and more of that later.
And through this podcast, we're going to explore some of the biggest dream stealers we come across in our work and serve up a healthy dose of some of the tools and strategies that you can use to overcome them.
Our goal is quite simply to help you find clarity, overcome your fears, play to your passions and strengths, and build your confidence to live the life that you have in mind for yourself.
And we'll always leave you with a few smiles, hopefully, and a handy little power move tool that you can use to help put some of these strategies into practice for yourself.
In this very first episode, we'd like to chat a little bit about ourselves, our backgrounds, how we came to work together, the type of work we do, and probably most importantly, what actually gave birth to this podcast in the first place, the Power Up podcast.
Yeah, and we'll also touch on some of the tools and strategies that we've developed through our work over the last 25 years. And each of these tools and strategies are designed to help people live happier, more purposeful lives.
Yeah, I think our sweet spot really is those people who are in a sort of career transition. There's a lovely metaphor of somebody driving along a motorway or a freeway, and when your car kind of starts to veer off the road, you get those little rumble strips on the side of the road, don't it? It just reminds you you're about to drive off the road, enables you to get back on track. And it's a bit like that with our careers. You get this kind of rumbling in the background, this slightly unsettled feelings. You're not quite looking forward to going to work each day. Or as one of our recent clients on our Power Up program said, you know, is this it? You know, what is this what I've worked all my life for?
Yeah.
You know,
some people spend years thinking that, don't they? And they don't listen to, well, maybe they do listen to some of the signals that they're getting, but they're too frightened or, too fearful of what lies on the other side.
They don't pay attention to it, but they're sort of this grumbling underneath that comes out in various ways, doesn't it? You know, they don't have that same excitement. They're not looking forward to the challenges of life, and that sort of has a negative impact on their life generally. So what we're really about is helping people in those positions where they're trying to figure out where they want to go, what they want to do, and sometimes that could be, it could be just simply going for a new promotion, but they've got a little bit of fear that's contained with that. Am I going to be good enough? Are there someone else better to do this role? It could be a career transition completely, moving to something completely different. Or sometimes it's those people that have always yearned to want to go self-employed, start their own business, but never quite had the confidence to take that leap. So, those are the kinds of folks that when they're faced with those choices, it is often met with great excitement.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it brings up our deepest fears and doubts about ourselves.
And we always say, don't we, that it's not necessarily the change from one thing to the other, but the transition that really causes people the problem.
Yes, they know they want to do something different, but do they have the confidence and belief to follow through? Do they have the conviction of their beliefs to follow their dreams and their aspirations? I'm reminded of the great quote by Milton Erickson, the hypnotherapist, where he said that all enlightenment is preceded by confusion.
Yeah.
So we're really here to help people through that confusion, to make sense of all these thoughts they've got going through in their head. You can read the books, but really, being able to actually converse and talk to people, that's the kind of work that we do, is to try and help them sort through those thoughts, get clarity. Otherwise, you end up going round and round in circles, and then guess what? You end up doing anything.
The books go on the shelf and, never to be opened again. And I think, what we do in our work and aim to do through this podcast is almost distill, all of the greatest ideas and strategies to really help people move through some of those fears.
And when they are making those choices, it's about making those choices from a place of confidence. Rather than fear, because often when we're in that transition, we think, it's a bit like folks that maybe get made redundant. They're excited about it to start with. They maybe got a pile of cash. They got a bit of a resting bite. And then they start to panic a bit. Yeah. What am I going to do? What happens if I don't get a job? And they start then taking the first job offer that actually takes them very much back to the place they started, which is a place they moved away from.
Yeah.
So what we want to help people do is make sure they're making a decision from a place of confidence that it's going to be scary doing something different.
Yeah.
But that is the point. That's why they made that decision in the first place, to leave that role. So let's make sure they're going on a pathway that is going to be more fulfilling than the pathway they left.
And, intentional.
Being intentional, absolutely. Yeah. Being clearly intentional about it. I think the struggle for sometimes is that people, they can't get clear, and that lack of clarity leads them just in inertia and procrastination.
Yeah, it's too difficult. They'll do that when, safety of the role and what's known to them prevails. So shall we share a little bit about ourselves for the listeners?
Sure, yeah. For the last 29 years, I have had the pleasure of coaching individuals and organisations on personal change, organisational change, mindset coaching. Around 1994, I was part of a founding team that set up a training consultancy. That training consultancy grew to be very successful. We had some amazing clients, amazing people. We had an amazing product, and it was an incredibly enjoyable period of time. Then came the crash of 2008, followed by, would you believe, me being made redundant from a company that I'd actually helped build. This actually happened to coincide with a big change in my personal life. A divorce meant that I literally, the security of the job I had and the salary I had was gone. The environment of a secure family had gone. I found myself in a different location, not really knowing that many people, and faced with choices. It was a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
And one part of me was perhaps a little bit disappointed at the people that I had grown to trust. And, I could wallow in that disappointment and bitterness. Or I could take what I've learned through my years of personal development, and here is a moment where I need to actually apply it.
And was that a pretty immediate reaction to that situation, or was there any little bit of wallowing? Or
I wouldn't say it was an instant thing. I would say I was pretty certain. I remember walking out of the office and saying to someone, I'm now going to design a life that I can be. It's like when something is taken away from you and you've got a blank sheet of paper, it's quite exciting, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you can rebuild it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the advantage. Bearing in mind I'd come out of this sort of 15-year relationship with very little financial security, particularly going through a divorce as well, and all that goes with that, and everyone's familiar with that. So I literally had nothing. It was literally back to nothing. But the one thing that can't be taken away from you is what you know and what you've learned. And there was the opportunity to build something special and something fantastic. And here we are, another 12 years on, happily married, built a beautiful home with my wife, Fiona, and have a fantastic business.
Yeah.
Several, actually. And that's kind of where the Power Up program came from, particularly during COVID, when we had an opportunity to sort of start thinking about how we could help those people I was describing earlier in that sort of career transition.
So, wow, that's quite some journey and an incredible turnaround. And I'm happy to have witnessed all of those things and been on that journey with you. So for you, from where you started facing redundancy and where you are now, what have been the lessons that you've learned along the way?
Well, there are two key lessons that really come to mind. And one, I refer to a quote by the Greek philosopher Epictetus, where he said, it's not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happens to you that matters most. And the second point was, and I think this quote originally might have come from someone else, but I know that Bill Gates has quoted this often, and that is that we often overestimate what we can achieve in the short term, but often massively underestimate what we can achieve in the long term. And if I think about those two lessons, that is absolutely, I would say, sums up in a T my journey. Apply what you've learned, Martin. Don't wallow in your own pity. Take responsibility in terms of how you may have contributed to this set of results and respond to it favourably.
Yeah, and deal with the reality of the situation, not what should or could or unfair or otherwise.
Yeah, and then that's a second point about just recognising that long term you can turn almost anything around. And the reason I say this, by the way, is because anyone listening to this, and I think often with people in our world, it's almost like we've been immune to these things, but not the case at all. I've had my fair share, as everyone else has, of setbacks and difficulties and self-doubt and knocks in confidence, like everybody else. But what I do have is a fantastic set of tools. And that's why I so passionately believe in this. These tools have helped me and did help me recover from a difficult position, 12, 13 years ago, to a very, very different position today.
Absolutely.
So I think, as we said earlier, our mission through this podcast is to share those insights, practical things that people can use straight away. Not that you have to sit and contemplate your navel or sit on a mountain for 10 years to work out how to use them, but things you can go and apply straight away. People are in a hurry. Yeah. And want to get where we want to get too fast.
Books take a long time to read.
Books take a long time to read. And we've done all that reading. And let's be honest, most of the books, not taking any credit away because I've got great admiration for these authors, but there's generally one or two really key central ideas in each of those books. And they take a long time to read, and we distilled them down and made them available in a concrete form that people can go and apply. Yeah. Tried and tested, we know they work. Over the course of that period of time, definitely one person that has been alongside me and seen all those things and helped me out through some of those difficult moments is you, Lisa.
Yes.
So perhaps from your perspective, maybe just tell the listening audience about how we came to work together and a little bit about your own background.
Yeah, I think, going back to the books, since I was not very young, but early on in my career, I've always been really sort of fascinated and a little bit of a personal development junkie. So, reading all of the books, listening to more latterly to podcasts, watching videos, attending courses, just to try and find out, how people are, how the tools and strategies that people use to be their best and, be able to perform at their best, irrespective of the challenges that they might face. And I had the fortune very early on in my career to work with yourself. I was the learning and development manager. I began my career at Ernst & Young, and I ended up being the learning and development manager for one of the big divisions within Ernst & Young. And at that point, that's when we met back in 1995 or something like that.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I'm so glad I met you when we did, because I have suffered my own insecurities and anxieties and all of that sort of thing. And I really believe that I was meant to meet you and the other coaches and go on this journey of discovery and personal development. And in doing so, over the years, I've suffered with, the insecurity, you name it, I've probably suffered with it. People pleasing.
You do hide it well, though, Lisa.
Do I?
Yes, you do.
Oh.
Yeah. You never know.
That's years of practice.
But that is a lot of people, isn't it? It's
Exactly.
what's going on the, what you see on the outside is what you see on the inside, is it?
And the one of the issues that people, sufferers like myself, face is that you compare your insides with other people's outsides.
Very nice.
But they are. They're probably going through the same thing, which is,
of course, everyone looks better on the outside, don't they?
Well, I haven't actually seen on the inside.
No.
So, that journey and meeting you and then joining you in the business, the focus on mindset and behavioural change back in 1995 was new.
It was.
Everything that we were doing in Ernst & Young was largely around skills development until you guys came along and delivered a program that was focused on mindset and behavioural change. We put all of the partners through it, and still partners that we speak to today that went through that program still remember the experience, still use some of the strategies and tools. So, from my point of view, being involved in this world has helped me massively personally, and I have put into practice just about everything that we talk about, and I can vouch for the fact that these tools really work, and that's why we wanted to put the Power Up program together and share these ideas on the podcast, because we want people to have access. You the biggest lesson that I've learned is that you have a choice. And for years I thought I didn't have a choice. I thought that's just how I'm built. I have to, deal with these insecurities and feel uncomfortable. But through the work that we've done together and I've done personally over the years, you have a choice. You can choose your beliefs. You can choose the way you feel. You can choose the stories that you tell yourself. You can choose how you talk to yourself. It's not easy, but it is possible, and it makes a massive, massive difference. Absolutely. So, and it's all of those sorts of things that we've distilled and poured into the Power Up program. Yeah. And, it's a massive highlight of my career to be involved in and this
it's been
work.
Amazing. We not only get on well as friends, but we get on well in business. We share very much the same philosophy. We're very, very much about happily achieving. That's one thing that I think both of us are very, certainly we have a very strong shared value. Yeah. Yes, we're all about performance. Yes, we want to help people achieve the life they want, but never at the expense of enjoyment. No. It's not about, working hard, delaying life. We don't put a massive emphasis on delayed gratification. It's about being able to happily achieve. That is something I know that you particularly are really strong at as a mother and a wife and
enjoy
your family.
The journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Towards the destination.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's by no means easy, and it's not easy for anyone, but I do know that the ball is, and I believe the ball is very firmly in our own court. It's for us to take charge and make the changes we need to make. And as Ryan Holiday, I've just read this book, Stillness is the Key. It's such a great book. But one of the things that he says in there is the challenge is to slow the ball down so that you can hit it better And, building even on that, it's not only hitting it, but it's hitting it in the direction that you choose, not that somebody else has chosen for you. And it's that, that really is the heart of the Power Up program, isn't it? And, probably a good time now to tell people a little bit more about the program itself.
Yes, that's exactly where the podcast gets its name from. It may be worth just explaining a little bit about it, because we will make several references to this. A lot of the material that we'll be sharing is from the program itself. I mean, really, to answer that question, what actually is it? Is if I go back 15, 20 years and I think about all of the clients we've coached, the organizations we've worked with, you meet some people who are very happy, very fulfilled, excited, motivated, happy life. When I started thinking about, what are these things? What are what is it this person is doing? Is it common to someone else? You suddenly find, hey, guess what? Yes, success does leave clues, right? And you see a lot of consistency in what those people are doing. So we pulled this together in a framework we call the 7 natural powers. These are 7 areas of your life that when you pay attention to these and you're very intentional about each of them, guess what? It leads to a happier, more fulfilled, successful life, whatever way you describe that.
And they're called natural powers.
They're called natural powers because they are naturally occurring. We all, as you were alluding to just now, we all have the ability to choose our quest in life, our direction in life.
Yeah.
We have the ability to choose our beliefs, our choices, our careers. But the question is, are we exercising power over those choices? Or are we being determined by past conditioning? Parents, well-intentioned teachers, bosses, friends, environment. And, when you start thinking about each of these areas and then amplifying your power in each of those areas, it leads to a more fulfilled, happier life.
I sort of see them as 7 dials, and you've got to
dial them up.
Yeah. If one is a bit down, you need to turn it up again, and overall in balance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They work in your favor in combination.
So 7 natural powers. The 7 natural powers are, number 1, vision power. So which direction do you want to go? What do you want for yourself in your life? What values, what goals, aspirations, what level of sort of work-life balance are you looking for?
So that's like setting that intention.
It's setting the intention for your entire life, trying to get some greater clarity over, why are you here? What are you here to do? What's your purpose? What's your vision? Your values?
What do you love?
What do you love? Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Living the life you really want to live. The second thing is then, once you got clear on that, it's logical, isn't it? That you go, if I want that and I want to move in that direction, do I have the skills? Do I have the strategy? Where do I need to grow? And that's why we call it growth power.
Yeah.
The third area is what we call emotional power, which arguably is like the powerhouse of your performance. If your emotions are all over the place, up one minute, down the next, feeling good, not feeling good, anxious, worried, excited, another couple of days of being down, it leads to inconsistency. Look, we're all emotional creatures, but we have to, if we can exert a little bit more control of those emotions and understand why those emotions are up and down, we can level them out. And when we need it, we can crank it up, as you said, dial up that power to be at our best in those moments. We need to. The fourth is belief power. And arguably, I think in all the people who have done the program, I would say this is probably the most powerful. Why? Because it goes deeper.
It's definitely the most challenging, isn't it?
It is definitely the most challenging, and it is the one that, arguably makes the biggest difference. Because if you really start looking at, why are my emotions all over the place? Why do I get so bent out of shape? Why do I get anxious? It's often underpinned by a conditioned belief system that is largely unconscious, that is creating a negative response. And you're not even sure why you're having that response. Things like imposter syndrome are often embedded in a belief system that is not really serving you today.
Yeah.
So belief power is a really, very powerful one. And then we look at two other powers, mind power and physiological power. So this is the mind-body link. What can we do in our minds, in the moment, to change our experience, to be able to get ourselves to have more confidence when we need it most? And then using the body as a device for charging ourselves up. And it's very, very powerful. You and I have both learned a huge amount.
There's so much out there now, isn't there? It seems like, these particular areas in terms of how you can, use your mind and your body on purpose, and the difference it makes, just very simple tools and exercises make a massive difference.
All within our gift to control. And that is the magical thing. There's no charge for this. You've got all the resources within you. You've just got to learn how to turn those resources on and utilise them.
Buy an ice bath or something.
Well, maybe. But, the point is that those gifts are within us.
Yep.
We have all the resources we need in order to succeed. We just got to know how to tap into them and utilise them. People don't lack the resources to succeed. They lack control over those resources. And that's the powerful thing. And then the final one is what we call brand power.
This sometimes surprises people, doesn't it? Because people think about brand as in something that's in the corporate domain, or a product domain, not a personal domain. So how does that...
Yeah, and sometimes they feel a little bit uncomfortable with it. They sort of associate it with being on Instagram or, bigging up yourself. But the reality is we all have a brand. We have you might see it as a reputation, use another word, managing your reputation. And particularly if you're trying to make career choices and you haven't been managing your brand, the way people perceive you, they might perceive you in a slightly inaccurate way or not seeing you quite the way that you see yourself or the potential you have to offer. And so brand power is hugely fascinating. And there's some exercises we do in brand power that really are quite life-changing. I know it's a powerful phrase to use, but when people get a better handle on how they're being perceived, or when they start thinking about a little bit more deliberately how they want people to see them, it changes people's perceptions of you, and then opportunities start to come to you consistent with those perceptions that people hold of you. But you've got to first of all exert some power over that brand. In just the same way an organisation has a brand, and if you start interfering with that brand or start making comments about that brand, you're going to find the brand police are going to come out and they're going to come after you. Why we can do the same for ourselves. So there's the 7 natural powers. There's a kind of logical order between them. Each one impacts on the other.
Do you feel that any are more powerful powers than others?
I think it's very, honestly, we mentioned belief. We definitely mentioned belief. I think the other one that it sets the whole ball in motion is vision.
Yeah.
It's just nothing more beautiful than watching somebody get clarity over their direction. And we know from our own experience of people running through the Power Up program how we've had one person talking about it recently, how things start to happen suddenly. Were they there before? I don't know. It's almost like a little mini miracle. You
start seeing things that are aligned to where you want to go. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's just amazing to see the power of getting clear about your direction and vision, and then giving it some energy. In other words, doing something towards that, and then watching it manifest. And that's what really manifestation is. You can't just sit there and sit on a mountain and dream. You've got to do something.
Yeah.
So get some clarity about where you want to go. Start to put some energy into it, take some action, and then watch your life unfold. It's amazing. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. I've experienced it myself several times. You've experienced it. Other people have experienced it. So yes, vision power, definitely up there.
And then each of the other powers just then support the manifestation.
Yes, they do.
of that. intention that you set at the beginning. And so in the work that we've done, we've obviously seen some pretty powerful transformations. Do any stick out in terms of the people that have gone through the program?
Several. I mean, there are several. And, whether it's somebody suddenly realizing, why am I putting up with this shit?
It is when the light switch goes on that people realise they have a choice.
And then they get angry.
As easy as that. You can choose.
Yeah. And they start getting angry, not with everyone else, but with themselves. Why have I been putting up with this?
Yeah.
Why have I been making do?
Yeah.
And damn it, that's it. I'm no longer prepared to put my life on hold. I'm no longer prepared to live a life which is less than I deserve. I deserve to be happy. Hold on, who convinced me that I couldn't be happy? Who convinced me that I couldn't do that particular, career pathway? Who is it? How did I get influenced by?
Yeah.
That made me make choices that were, smaller than I had for myself. Why am I living this smaller version of myself? So I think those moments where people just kind of, I love it when people they get fed up. I mean, disappointment sometimes is a powerful motivator.
Well, it goes back to the quote you said, the Milton Erickson quote. You need a bit of agitation in order to do something. Back to when you got made redundant, you're going, that it was a massive agitation, and actually you had to make a choice.
Yeah,
it
was.
Doing nothing was not an option.
It wasn't a pleasant time at the time, but it was significant in turning things around. And I can honestly say, and I'm not just saying it, I am a better person for it, and I am a happier person for it.
Yeah.
For the changes that have happened since those days. So, so that's I guess that's one thing. I think the other thing is we've talked a lot about career choices and people taking a different pathway, but I think just purely coming back to what do we all crave in life more than anything else at all is happiness. It is everything we really want. Doesn't matter what it is. When you really say, well, why do you want that? Or what's that going to give you? And what would that give you? What would that give you? Well, make me happy. And so happiness is available in various different ways. And you've got multiple choices. And when people get wedded to one path, they think that is going to bring them happiness. That is another big realization that there are other ways that I can be happy. Why am I chasing all this money?
Yeah. And I think, people get caught on that sort of hamster wheel, don't they? And I think, maybe slightly less so now, but certainly, at the start of our careers in the 80s, 90s, you get caught on this hamster wheel. You earn more, you have more, you acquire more, you need to earn more to sustain, and you don't feel that at any point you can press the stop button and change, but you can, and loads of people that we know have decided to press that stop button and do something that's much more aligned to their passions.
Yeah, I was reading Neil Pasricha's book, The Happiness Equation, and he talked about, if you think about where we came from a position of survival. Yeah. And we did things out of necessity to survive, to live, to acquire. But now we're in the society of more, more and more and more. We got amazing technology around us. Guess what? So we could do more, and now we're doing more. We want more, and it never seems to be enough. It's just endless. So trying to get some reality check on when is enough, and what is it you want, and don't be guided by other people's goals and dreams. Think about, what is it you want? Have a word with yourself.
So Power Up's almost like a big red reset button.
It's a massive reset button. It enables people to press that reset button as much as they want. And it's the tools and the guides, if you like, to help them make those choices in a way that actually will lead to something better for themselves. Isn't that a wonderful thing? I mean, that's exciting, isn't it? To know that no matter where your start point, you can make, you know, significant changes. That is, I think, and again, you know, I think that is another big realization. And you mentioned it earlier in your introduction, choice.
Yeah.
Because I think there's some people might be listening to this going, well, it's all very well for you, but
Yeah.
you know, I don't have those choices. You know, I found myself, you know, living on a hill, in a house, in an environment, with a number of children, in a job, and I feel a bit trapped. And we get trapped by our circumstances. I would even challenge that. Yes, you can't make a change tomorrow. Of course, you know, you've got to be respectful to those choices you made that got you into that position.
Yeah.
But over time, you can change it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And actually, it can happen a lot faster than you think as well.
And I think you can, you know, physical changes might take a little bit more time in terms of, you know, job, house, where you live and all of that sort of thing. But the internal changes can happen very, very quickly. So even if you're in a position where you're maybe not in the job you want, you're not, you know, physically, you know, where you want to be, if you work on your internal systems and your mindset, it helps you cope with those. And if you have a plan in terms of how you're going to transition from that to what you want, it makes it a lot easier, you know, to negotiate that journey and cope with that transition.
Yeah, helps you get some perspective on what you can achieve in what period of time.
Yeah.
But if you've got the mindset right, as you say, that will put you on a pathway to where you want to go in the long term.
Absolutely. So in terms of the people that come on the program, what are the sorts of issues that you see that need addressing, that this program will address?
Well, I think that just a few of them very quickly. I think number one, I would say that is people are in a state of inertia. They're not quite sure where to go. They're kind of half-arsing around, you know, one step forward, two step backs, you know, not quite sure. Shall I do this? Shall I do that? They get caught up, going around in circles.
Yeah.
Talking themselves in, talking themselves out of a situation. So having somebody that can just go, whoa, hold on a second, let's just think this through. You know, where does somebody go, let's be honest, when they want to make a big change in their life? Maybe they feel nervous about talking to their partner about it, potentially. Look, we've got a steady job. Don't rattle the cage. You've got a good job as it is. You don't need to do anything different. If you're in an organisation, you can't always talk to your peers about it because they might start questioning you. You don't want to go to your boss. Yeah. You don't want to go to your direct reports. You don't want to go and talk to your mate because they might talk you out of it. So this is a safe way for people, if you like, to hear themselves speak out loud, and for someone to say, well, hold on, let me just ask you a question about that.
Yeah,
so
shine the mirror up a little bit.
To hold the mirror up, actually, so we can hear and see themselves think. Another area is where, because of perhaps this inertia and doubt, they suddenly find themselves being overlooked for promotion, which is disappointing, isn't it? You know, when you. But truthfully, have they really projected that they want that promotion? Have they been certain about it? Maybe there's a little unconscious lack of confidence or belief they're projecting out to people. There's not letting people know, but they're ready, and therefore other people are getting chosen. And then they have to go through the pain of watching people who they believe have less skills, less ability, pass right by them, which, as we well know, can turn to bitterness and anger, which, you know, is
and
not...
further damaged confidence.
It's really surprising, or maybe not, how many people do suffer from imposter syndrome. They feel an imposter in their own world. Yeah.
Even people that are at very senior positions, which even always more so. Surprises me.
Even more so. I've been surprised as well. You'd think this person has reached these dizzy heights, and you think, well, they've certainly got it. They're cool. Yeah. They're strong. But actually, no, they're underneath it all. They're going, oh, maybe one day I'm going to get found out. When am I going to get found out? that's not a great place to be, is it? You know, you want to be happily achieving. So that's a really interesting area, and we can definitely help people with that. Another point is people who've kind of worked their way up the corporate ladder only to find the ladder's leaning against the wrong wall. You know, they get there and they think, oh, what the hell am I doing here? Is this it? I'm looking around. I'm thinking, I wasn't expecting this. This is not as fulfilling as I thought it was going to be. So, you know, this is about making sure before you start climbing another ladder, hey, make sure you're sticking it against the right wall before you start putting effort and going up that ladder. And the final one I would say, and this comes up over and over and over again, you cannot get away from it, and that is a lack of confidence. Yeah. The confidence to take action. We all suffer from this to a degree. Very few people are born into this world. Well, we're actually all born into this world confident, to be quite frank, but, you know, we get conditioned not to be confident. We weren't supposed not to have confidence.
Yeah, generally, you know, chips away over the years. And
as we're not designed to have anxiety. Anxiety is something that happens to you through an accumulation of beliefs, experiences, etc., and our interpretation of those. That's an area we definitely focus on and definitely help people with.
It's something that's massively, you know, the imposter syndrome and the confidence and beliefs, you know, massively helped me, you know, over the years.
And the good news is there are some very specific strategies that will help. Not every strategy helps everyone. You have to find your own thing. But we have plenty of options, and we would love to share those with our audience. So tune in again to learn more about those. We will be doing further podcasts on specifically that area with some very specific strategies for dealing with confidence.
So that brings us to the end of our first episode, and I have to say it was a pleasure, Martin. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Finally,
we got there.
I know.
Yes,
we did, and nothing blew up.
No, not yet.
So we told you a little bit about ourselves and the journey we've been on, both personally and professionally. We introduced a bit about the Power Up program and the 7 natural powers, and some of the people that have been on the journey with us and the issues that we can help address. So I hope you've sort of found some useful nuggets in there. We'll put all of the ideas and strategies we talked about in the show notes. And also there's a little download that you can get access to, which tells you a bit more about each of the 7 natural powers. So, you know, we're excited to share more episodes with you. And in fact, the next episode, what are we talking about next?
Well, we were just talking about confidence, and I think let's go for that. You know, we're going to be talking about confidence. What is it? How do we create confidence? What is it not? And what are some strategies that you can use to crack the confidence code?
Yeah.
You know, really practical things, both in terms of how you can turn around your confidence in the moment that you need it, because sometimes we have situations where I have a higher demand.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to crank up our confidence in that moment. And perhaps in addition to that, the ability to go a little deeper and say, well, what is it that actually is causing this lack of confidence in the first place? What can I do to work on my long-term confidence? So strategies for short-term and strategies for long-term change in terms of your confidence. Very excited about that. Packed with practical things, as always. That's our bag. That's what we want to be able to offer people, so you can walk away with something. We trust you found today's podcast interesting, and there were some things in there that's got you thinking about yourself, your own life, how you can apply it to yourself, and more importantly, some nuggets or insights you can take away and use immediately. And if you did find it interesting, and please do share it with other people. Remember the gift of sharing. When you share with somebody, I believe you get something back eventually. So do share with people. And of course, if you've got any insights or comments that we can make it even better and improve it, we're very much welcome any feedback you have. Just be kind. This is our first one. So look forward to seeing you on the next episode.